It's official. President Trump thinks that Sir Keir Starmer is a weak man. When asked about Starmer's regime, a senior White House source said they are just weak. Apparently, President Trump is actually very angry with Sir Keir Starmer for not backing him more on Venezuela. Now, what's interesting is that today, this happened. The US seized, well, what was originally, I think, a Venezuelan oil tanker, but it was flying the Russian flag, wasn't it, in European waters, and they used military bases in Britain to do it. Yeah, that tanker was flying the Russian flag and was being escorted by the Russian Navy. So this is obviously a very serious issue. And then these headlines started emerging. British spy planes and vessels helped support the US in capturing that ship, which again is interesting because today at Prime Minister's Questions, Sir Keir Starmer was asked directly about when he actually last spoke to President Trump.
In relation to security guarantees and the American role and our dialogue with the Americans, I can assure the House I spoke to President Trump twice over the Christmas period in relation to this specific issue.
So what that is, if you actually realise what he's genuinely saying there, is that despite Venezuela, despite Greenland, despite yesterday's meeting of the Coalition of the Willing, and saying that he'll put British boots on the ground in Ukraine, and despite Trump using British military bases to capture a ship off the coast of Britain in conjunction with the British military, President Trump apparently hasn't felt the need to speak directly to our human rights lawyer-in-chief. Now, I don't think Trump respects Starmer. Yesterday, Starmer and other European leaders warned Trump not to go after Greenland. President Trump immediately said, I don't care, we want it, and we might use the military to get it. And then today...
Why is the administration not taking Denmark's offer to discuss the situation in Greenland? And
I'll be meeting with them next week.
But will you take military intervention off the table?
I'm not here to talk about Denmark or military intervention. I'll be meeting with them next week. We'll have those conversations with them then. That's always been the president's intent from the very beginning. He said it very early on. I mean, this is not new. He talked about it in his first term, and he's not the first U.S. president that has examined or looked at how could we acquire Greenland. There's an interest there. But so I just reminded them of the fact that not only did Truman want to do it, but President Trump's been talking about this since his first term.
The Americans said that they will meet Denmark to discuss Greenland next week. Well, the UK and the EU are just being completely ignored, aren't they? I mean, what's worse is that I don't think that Trump trusts Starmer. President Trump didn't consult Britain before bombing Iran, and Trump was furious about this.
The United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine.
The Americans are also very worried about this.
Also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British. Of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension, American citizens.
And they are certainly very worried about this.
I was talking with a friend recently, and we were talking about, one of the big dangers in the world, of course, is nuclear proliferation, though, of course, the Biden administration doesn't care about it. And I was talking about, what is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran, maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over.
The problem for Sir Keir Starmer is this. He's a jellyfish. He's trying to be on the side of Gaza and the side of Israel. He sucks up to China. He wants the US to like him. He says he won't reverse Brexit. Then he does everything to take us back into the EU. Now, at some point, Sir Keir Starmer is going to have to decide what he stands for and who he stands with. And I just don't think he's capable of doing that.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Let's get thoughts from my panel. Senior political correspondent at the Daily Express, Christian Cowgie, pub landlord and activist Adam Brooks, and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Christian, I'll start with you on this. So, it looks a little bit, really, well, it looks a lot, doesn't it? I think, like, Trump doesn't have any time for Keir Starmer at all.
Well, he's got a modicum more time for Keir Starmer than anyone else in the current White House or Republican administration, which has always actually baffled Republicans that I talk to. And I've always thought that if, God forbid, Trump were to pop his clogs tomorrow, the Britain's diplomatic relation with the US would just collapse. I thought today was humiliating at PMQs. I went back and checked the tapes because we have these daily press briefings with Prime Minister's spokesman. And on Monday, we were told that Keir Starmer was going to try and speak to Donald Trump after yesterday's Paris summit. And then we heard today at PMQs that all he managed to talk to was a couple of White House staffers. Now, if the UK Prime Minister is only able to talk to Donald Trump's aides, then that suggests to me a humiliating deterioration in our relationship. And, I think to a certain extent, we deserve it. I mean, you look at what we did over Maduro. We withdrew intelligence cooperation when Trump was blowing up those drug smuggling boats. It didn't obviously impede America's actions in any way. But I think we've shown ourselves to be a really duplicitous friend at times. And I think the only reason Donald Trump has any time for Keir Starmer is that when it comes to negotiating these trade deals, he knows that he can get whatever he wants because Labour are the worst negotiators we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm very keen not to do here, right, is to try to talk Britain down. I'm not talking Britain down. We are not a weak country. I don't think that the people watching and listening to this now are weak people. I don't think, people in the studio are necessarily weak people at all. But I do think, and the Americans think, that we have a very weak Labour leader and government. And that ultimately is bad for Britain.
Let's remember, a few years ago, Keir Starmer and basically the whole cabinet slagged Donald Trump off terribly. I mean, there's 3 or 4 videos that I've seen of Keir Starmer saying bad things about Donald Trump. Now, of course, I don't believe Donald Trump likes Keir Starmer at all. I said it on another show on this channel a few days ago. I believe he despises Keir Starmer. But because we're allies and we have to work together, he plays for the cameras and he does what he has to do, the minimum. But I believe he despises him. But look, I do not feel safe as a citizen of this country with Keir Starmer, little Macron and the coalition of the willing, to defend Europe and to defend us. I do feel more safer knowing that we are an ally of the most powerful man in the world. Keir Starmer and this Labour government can't even defend our own borders against third world chancellors in dinghies. That says it all at the end of the day. I'm looking at Donald Trump in awe. They are gaining territory and controlling more territory, and we're giving away our territory and making us, the taxpayer, pay for it. What does that say? I'm sorry, but this is the worst government of my lifetime.
Well, what do you think? Because look, regardless of well, regardless of what Trump may say, we are living in a little period of time now where international events have really blown up.
Well, because of Trump. Because Trump is
Trump and
Putin.
China,
exactly. You've got Putin and you've got Trump. And the problem.
My point here, Nina, sorry, is that Britain appears to be being marginalised in this now. You've even got things like where Trump is using Britain's bases to go and capture a ship, which, by the way, I'm not particularly. I'm quite intrigued to find out what's on that ship. I think we all are. But to capture that ship and not bothering to call our Prime Minister about it. I mean, we're kind of being
how do you know? And I don't think that Trump has. I don't think Trump has. Contrary to what Adam says, I don't think Trump has any time for people that he really doesn't care for. And it's surprising and astonishing thing is that he does seem to like Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer has been dancing on the head of a pin, but trying to juggle between Europe and the US, and trying to and so far I think everybody has agreed, apart from probably Adam, is that he's done very well on the foreign stage.
The thing is, the chips are down now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we see people's true colours, and Trump is ignoring it.
He is not ignoring him. I do not think he is ignoring him. When Trump invaded Venezuela to decapitate the government, as it were, that has nothing to do with the UK. Why should he ask Britain's permission or ask him for help? It's South America. It's not our part of the sphere. It is nothing. We are not that as a nation that important. What difference does Venezuela make to our country? Nothing. Well, how could we assist?
I think we are important. See,
that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong.
I think we talk ourselves down.
We're not talking. I'm not
talking. We talk our history down.
No.
We talk our history down. We talk our capability down. We've hollowed out our armed forces. We spent a load of time caring about things that don't matter. And now here we are.
We no longer have an empire. They are not pink bits on the map, and we've got to get that out of our heads. And during the whole post-Brexit Boris shenanigans, our standing in the world went down so far. Keir Starmer has brought that back up again.
That is an astonishing claim. Keir Starmer has brought that back up again.
Yes, he has. He has, by being around the world and talking to people and making sure that they know that Britain is not in the hands of...
By giving away our own territory and making their own people pay for the privilege.
The whole thing about the Chagos Islands is done because of America. You understand that? Because of the American base there. Do you understand? No, the thing was with international law, we didn't. That was going to be up to question. Now we do have power over it, but it's all down to America because of the American base.
Because
it's complicated.
We are in a moment now, I think, where Keir Starmer is very much being asked to pick a side. Right now, he might not want to, and he doesn't want to, and you can see that over the decisions that he's made over other things, flip-flopping on the EU, flip-flopping over Gaza and Israel, all of this stuff, right? But now he's being told to pick a side. And I just don't think he's got that in him. How can he marry up his human rights lawyer mindset with what I think is ultimately right for Britain, which is to align yourself with the least bad strongman in this case, which is Trump, obviously, which will probably upset the European Union. I just think he's just the wrong man for the job here.
I think, look, Downing Street has always tried straddling that gap between America and Europe. We've always thought of ourselves as playing that role. But that was easier in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s when we were still a major power, world player economy. Now it does feel more like we have to pick a side, and I don't think Keir Starmer is psychologically capable of picking America over Europe, even though, and Ed Davey called for this at PMQs today, and I just thought it was absurd. Europe is so irrelevant, economically, defence, foreign policy.
America, the Minister of War. Europe, The coalition of the willing.
It's embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. It is not embarrassing.
We have no influence over what is going to happen in Ukraine.
No, we can't.
At all.
Because that's down to Putin and Trump. I agree.
Stop pretending that we have influence and calling yourself the coalition of the willing. It is purely
it's the coalition of the willing, not the coalition of the capable.
Because we have to defend ourselves. We have to defend you. Well, how else? We
can't without America.
So in the course of this, and it's a very chaotic, fast-moving picture in terms of all of what's going on around Venezuelan oil tankers and Russia and Greenland and everything. Iran, of course, yes, well remembered. But I think Christian's hit on a good point here, okay? Should we choose Europe or Trump? Because it's looking as though there is an increased separation. So I'm keen to know what the viewers and listeners think about this. Christian, who would you go for there? Would you rather ally yourself with the members of the European Union or with the American administration?
Well, obviously, I go America on both security and economic grounds. I mean, Europe is grinding to a halt. It barely has an economy to speak of. It's essentially like, Harry Potter world at this point, or a sort of, a UNESCO World Heritage site. It's got no growth. It can't defend itself. And actually, the key point about Venezuela and the whole, does it show the breakdown of the global order that we've had? Europe created this rules-based order and then got rid of its method of enforcing it and rode on Americans' coattails. And it's only now that America has a slightly different path to us ideologically that we've realised that.
America or Europe?
It will be the worst decision we ever make if we go with the EU leaders, the coalition of the willing, over Trump. Trump is changing the whole political sphere around the world. He's the most powerful man in the world. We need to align with him. They're our oldest allies. Forget the EU.
Power does not equal right, and I would still play one side against the other. That's the smart thing to do.
Right. Oh, so you wouldn't pick a side, basically?
No, I would not pick a side.
So you would annoy both sides. Brilliant.
Absolutely fine.
Brilliant.
Absolutely fine. And it doesn't have to be annoyed. That's just a personal jibe on your part.
You try to straddle that. Okay. All right. Well, there we go. I mean, this is the way it's looking like it's going. Let's see what tomorrow brings. I mean, it's every single time you turn on the telly at the moment, something else has popped off somewhere in the world, hasn't it? So it could be anything. But anyway.